Welcome back. You're watching the Supreme Petition. I'm still with my legal minds, lovely minds, I must say. Bobby Mkangi and Ishmael Nyaribo are still with me. And I want us to just quickly go through the issues that were raised by petitioners before we go to the president-elect's response. So some of the issues that were raised were, number one, the conduction of election according to law, mandate of the IEBC and the chairperson, the declaration of results from the 27 constituencies, inclusion of rejected results in the 50% plus one computation, equally the alleged alteration of forms 34A and failure of Kim's kit. Now, these are just some of the issues. Let me just go through what the president-elect, that is William Ruto, response had to say. In the issue of the conduct of election according to the law, the response in that affidavit said that IEBC conducted the election in substantial compliance with Articles 1, 3, 10, 38, 81 and 86 and 138 of the Constitution, as well as the Elections Act and regulations made under the Elections Act. When it comes to the issue of the mandate of the IEBC and the chairperson, the response from the president-elect was that he was unaware of the usurpation of powers, errors, irregularities and breaches that were alleged by the petitioners concerning the corporate mandate of the mandate as an institution and the specific mandate of the IEBC chairperson as the returning officer. And you'll be seeing those up on your screen a bit shortly. But equally, one other thing that they did respond to was the issue of the 27 constituencies. Now, they did mention that IEBC tallied and verified results of the 27 constituencies in the presence of commissioners, secretariat, agents, observers, and even the media. Now, that is according to that affidavit that was filed today at the Supreme Court. We equally have the issue of the allegation. Actually, before we go to the allegation of the alteration of Form 34A, let's take a look at the inclusion of the rejected results in the 50 plus 1, that is the 50% plus 1 computation. And the response did mention that the court settled issue of inclusion of rejected votes in 2013 and 2017. And he further went on and said that he believes that the perusal of the original Forms 34A, B, and C can confirm the attainment of the 50% plus 1 threshold. Another issue was the issue of the alteration of Forms 34A. He did mention in the response that it is humanly impossible to stage, alter, and dump 11,000 Forms 34A in 8 minutes. Remember that the 11,000 were being questioned in the petitions, and also the issue of the failure of Kim's kit. In the response, they did mention that IEBC had established complementary mechanisms to facilitate the identification of voters upon failure of some of those Kim's kits. So coming back to this discussion, gentlemen, I know you've perused through this response. I know you have a lot to say towards it, so maybe we can start with you.
I actually looked at the response, which came in late to my attention, but I thought it was 256 pages.
Yeah.
But going through, the actual response is about 42 pages, 46 if I'm not wrong, 42. But paragraphs. I think the president-elect has tried to be very specific in terms of is not aware, he shouldn't be aware anyway if there was any collusion between the IEBC and IEBC officials and the commissioners. He was not party to it. He was not conducting any tallying or verifying. I think that's a very smart way to respond. In terms of kits did not fail, it's really not within his purview.
Yeah.
In terms of maybe, figures did not match the percentages, he is not involved at all.
Yeah.
I think where the burden of proof rests on the petitioner is where they say that the deputy president, presidential-elect, did connive and collude with the IEBC. I think those will be interesting developments because we will see those questions coming from the judges and wanting to understand that really the president-elect was usurping power of the IEBC. What I think the petitioners have hammered correctly and has not been responded to is the issue of the 27 constituencies that had not been tallied. I have seen that the deputy president is trying to say, okay, they were all verified. Now, I think that's the new aspect.
Yeah.
When was that done? We had not known. But since he has now replied and said it was done, I did not check the paperwork, the attachment.
Yeah.
If that is proved that it was done, then he has a strong case of becoming president of the republic.
Okay.
But if the 27 constituencies were not tallied, that is one, they were not verified by the commissioners, and if the 33,000 plus votes which are said to have been voted for the president alone in select constituencies, then again, if that issue is not resolved, I think we might be headed for something like a rerun.
Okay.
But if it is explained through the paperwork, and judges ask certain questions and they are satisfied that the respondents have answered correctly, then of course William Ruto will be declared president and will be sworn in as president of the republic.
Bobby, coming to you, and even as you add on to your thoughts when it comes to the entire response in general, the mandate of the IEBC and the IEBC chairperson has been questioned. We've seen it since the 15th of August when that declaration was made. Now, coming to the law, what does the law say? Because this is where the argument seems to be, not just in the Supreme Court, but equally in the streets of Kenya. And most Kenyans want to know, so what exactly does the law say when it comes to the mandate of the commission? Where do you draw the line that, you know what, I stopped being a commissioner, part of the commission, I'm now the presidential returning officer?
Well, in the first place, we have to look at the broader mandate of IEBC in terms of supervision of elections and referenda in the country, as provided for, I think, in Article 86, if not 88 of the Constitution. And so the primary responsibility of IEBC in this instance is projected from that, and in particular in the conducting of the presidential election and how that is done. You see it come out under Article 138. And this is what has been the point of contention in this particular instance, but also going back to now what Kenyans have had being touted a lot. It's become a cliche right now, the minor Kiai case that really enabled the courts to dig deep into what 138 really meant, and also delineate aspects of IBC's responsibilities, functions, and powers thereof as an institution, its identity flowing from 86 to 88, but also as a Chapter 15 institution or commission in the Constitution. So where you start seeing the disambiguation between the chairperson and members of commissions, generally constitutional commissions. So the first question is, where is there a particularization, under Chapter 15 of chairperson and the commissioners? And also further, you see the secretary also of commissions being addressed particularly. So when you come back to 138 and you find the Court of Appeal, flowing from now the minor Kiai case, did, in very particular and good way, show the flaw of, and you see it even appearing in the way and sequencing of the language used, where you see IEBC as a corporate entity, supervising elections right from the grassroots, right from the polling stations, in terms of presiding officers, in terms of returning officers, in terms of other technical officials that work under IEBC during such logistical undertakings. You come all the way now for presidential elections to the constituency returning officer. So you see this language changing and flowing from the broader IEBC. So the commission and its agents, who are its staff who are out there helping to supervise and conduct elections. And it thins, it's like an inverted pyramid, where it comes now for the presidential election to the constituency, and then from the constituency to the national tallying center, where the returning officer, who also happens to be the chairperson of the commission, is the one in charge of particular issues to do with now receiving, results from the constituencies, verifying, tallying. So all this again is being done by, it's a thinner team, but still the commission. The commission, under the supervision of the presidential election returning officer.
Yeah, the agents.
The chairperson.
The chairperson. That is the IBC chairperson.
And even this time around, we even saw, and Kenyans witnessed this, Chairman Chebukati himself, at a table. I remember we were watching with some friends, and one of them was joking, this is the time now the chairperson can say he's really earning his money, because now we can see him now playing the role of even a clerk, receiving forms, verifying, I think the security features and all, and passing them on. And the tallying that was going on around the tables in the auditorium with agents present, observers, and your cameras and microphones there. So all that happens, and until now, when you get to actually 138.10, it's now zeros and says after you've been in the kitchen, I hope the analogy is not bad in terms of cooking.
That's okay.
But if Kenyans will understand it in the positive way, you have the chef and the sous chef and the cooks, and now it's coming, the food is about to be brought out. So the Constitution says it's the chef who has to now come and say, this is what you bring. And so the contention thereof right now is around what should have happened in what Kenyans like terming again as nyuma ya tent, during the disagreement. And that's what the court will address.
But even as you respond to that and add on to that, did the Constitution envisage such a moment where we're seeing, the commission split?
Yes.
And is there another way maybe the 4 commissioners would have actually acted?
In my humble, very clear view,
I
don't think there's a dispute in terms of what are the roles of the chairman and what are the roles of the whole commission. These are things prosecuted in the social media, but in terms of what, like Bobby has clearly elucidated that, it starts from a larger kitchen, then it comes down to the table, and it remains that you have to serve ugali, and the person to serve it is none other than the chairman of the IBC. However, who is going to be involved in the recipes, in the cooking, and how it is done in the kitchen? It is still under the supervision of the chairman. But is the chairman going to cook? Is he prohibited? Is he allowed? Or he is encouraged to involve the other commissioners? So for me, it is an issue of bad boardroom manners. That's really the issue here. It will not be culture, I mean, in the minor KI case, like you correctly said, they are using words like the framers of the Constitution did not envisage a situation where they give a personal, an individual person, the powers to do all this. So, unless the Supreme Court again wants to charter new waters on their own decision, even them, they are held by the decision of 2017. So, I don't think it's a new issue. Here it's because of, you see a lot of people, lawyers, senior lawyers, with millions of followers, actually in a sense misleading, because there is nothing confusing in terms of what the chairman should do and what the commission should do. But in terms of agreeing and or disagreeing, there was bad manners practiced by
So do you think they should have acted differently? I mean, how do you distance
I have said
yourself
this a number of times. They should have done it differently. You see, a person's energy and personality is what helps you resolve a particular situation. Those commissioners, in my humble view, should have raised red flag earlier than what they did at the Serena conference. I was not in their shoes, so I cannot necessarily blame, but they should have raised we are seated here. If you tell me something wrong, Mazuri, you call me, but I'm at liberty to tell you as an individual, I'm independent, I don't like this. So waiting until I have walked out of this room, then I start calling you names. I think there was bad boardroom manners. That has been my position. And I think it should be done better in the future.
Okay, so then do you think that perhaps the politics of IEBC, it's just because the process of getting the members is so politicized, that's why we're seeing these issues come up over and over? Perhaps maybe we should look into that and find a different way of handling that matter in general.
I'll tell you, Ashley, I've been against.
Okay, briefly.
Yes, against the issue of politics, politicians, political personalities, political parties, and particularly so parliamentary political parties being the ones that, in a sense, tap or pick those who are to be nominated as commissioners to serve in IEBC. And I think, unfortunately, we have seen the aftermath of such practice, both in 2017. This current Chebukati-led commission, in its second phase of it, I think is facing the challenge that it inherited from this formulation of direct political interests being driven into the personality and conduct and interest to some extent of the referee, so I think that is something we need to depart from. We have seen it happen on
I
two
think this
occasions.
is very important, Bobby said this, but you just left out one thing, Bobby. Why was Chebukati not disqualified by the handshake partners
in the first place,
after messing, quote unquote? Because really, we just commented here from this level. They know something we don't know. Why did the handshake partners not deal with Chebukati before 2022? That tells you that the way politics of this country is played, I mean, there is a screen for us as normal citizens, and there's a different screen. And that's why you see the deputy president-elect come out today very confident, and he says, I had a chat with the KRA, and we will do this, so there's a screen for us, and there's another screen for these big boys.
All right, that's why I have to wind this conversation. But thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been a very interesting conversation to have with you, and hopefully this is something that we'll continue with next week. Of course, I had Ishmael Nyaribo, who is a lawyer, and Bobby Mkangi, a constitutional lawyer. And I am Ashley Mazuri. Thank you very much for being part of this edition of the Supreme Petition. Up next is Weekend Prime.